You were just supposed to take out the trash. That's all. Press the elevator button, still sticky from 100 gloved monks, and haul 2 cardboard boxes of discarded papers to the incinerator. The kind of chore every Vatican archivist dreads, touching what no longer matters. But the box was strangely heavy, and when you tore back the cracked wrapping to check what was creaking in the corner, you saw it. An envelope. Faded parchment, deep crimson wax, still unbroken after centuries, stamped with the coat of arms of Pope Innocent IV, and below that, carved into the parchment like it had been seared with a branding iron, ad infernum privatum non tangi. To hell, private, do not touch. You swallowed dry air, and it smelled warm, like fire in a cold room. You slipped the envelope into your pocket, gently, like a blade. Then, the elevator froze between floors. The light flickered out, and something whispered your name. Hello. You didn't just stumble into a story. You opened something that's been hidden for over 700 years. Set the video to full screen. Lean in close and listen carefully. But before that, do one simple thing. Write in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is, because time matters, and you'll soon understand why. Subscribe to the channel. They don't tell stories like this out loud anymore. Your name is Luca, and this is your final shift in the Vatican Deep Archive. Old Monsignor Pietro, your partner for the past 3 years, has transferred to Naples, and you've been left here, alone. You're not the type who believes in conspiracies. You're a technician, practical. Your job is to digitize pages, catalog forgotten things no one will ever read again. Hundreds of documents a day, rituals, receipts, Latin letters to theologians long dead. But this envelope, it doesn't belong to any protocol. You open it at night, carefully, gloved, and you hear a faint crackle as if old skin had just awakened. Inside, one thin page, lighter than ash, and the signature, not in Italian, not Latin, not any language you recognize, just Lucifer. Above it, a familiar hand, Pontifex Innocent IV. You don't believe it. You Google, you double-check. Innocent IV, year 1243, the Crusades. He initiated the first official inquisitions. He wrote treatises on demonic reasoning and divine power over the creatures of shadow. But nowhere, no historian, no document, nowhere does it mention that the Pope wrote a letter to the devil. But it's here, in your hands, alive. You read the first line and understand nothing. because the words stay silent, but in your mind a phrase forms all on its own. You won, but you will not take my soul, for it was already yours. You stop and realize this wasn't the Pope writing to the devil. It was a reply. A forbidden shelf. You don't sleep that night. Not really. You lie in bed in your dim Vatican dormitory, sheets too stiff, ceiling too high, the faint ticking of some ancient wall clock echoing like a metronome for doubt. The letter lies folded beneath your pillow, not for safety, but because you couldn't bear to leave it alone. Every time your eyes close, one phrase spins back. It was already yours. Whose soul? Why his? And what kind of pope would ever write those words? By morning, you return to the archives early. Too early. The janitors haven't even finished mopping the marble floors that lead down into the restricted vaults. Normally, you would clock in with your ID badge and remain in the digitization chamber, airtight, sterilized, and utterly boring. But this time, you take a left, down a hallway you're not supposed to know about. Section B9. The hallway is carpeted with dust. No motion detectors, no security cams, just a simple steel door at the end. You tap the keypad. It buzzes. You never received this access code officially. You found it written in pencil inside the lining of Monsignor Pietro's old coat, folded and forgotten the night he left. Inside, a stone corridor, unlit. Cold seeps into your palms through the door handle. You turn on your flashlight. The shelves here are different. They aren't numbered. No neat catalog cards, no barcodes, just stacked folios, scrolls bound with sinew, black wooden boxes that seem to hum faintly when you walk past. Then, in the far corner, you see it. A shelf partially collapsed, crushed beneath a fallen crossbeam. The wood is splintered, stained dark, maybe old blood, maybe ink. You crouch. Something glimmers underneath. It's a binding strip, barely visible, and on it, Corvus B9 Inf. You freeze. Infernum. It's the same word that was burned into the Pope's envelope. Ad infernum, privatum, non tangi. Not a poetic flourish, a literal label. You gently tug the strip free. It's part of a tightly bound volume wedged into the rubble. The leather cover peels away with age. No title. No markings, but something clinks as you shift it. A thin envelope falls from between the pages. This one is smaller, older, and tied shut with a single black thread. Your fingers tremble as you undo the knot. Inside, another letter. Not signed, no seal, just one short paragraph. He answered once. He will answer again, but only if the question is right. You return to your desk with the envelope hidden beneath your coat. You scan it into your workstation. The AI OCR software tries to recognize the handwriting. Results: 0%. The Vatican scanner doesn't recognize the alphabet. You try to run a linguistic match. The software outputs a strange alert. Symbolic syntax does not conform to Indo-European structures, possibly constructed language or theological cipher. You already knew that, because one of the characters from the new envelope matches the signature from the first letter, a backwards slashed into a spiral. It appears in both documents, like a glyph, a mark. You decide to go deeper. You don't request clearance. You don't notify your supervisor, because by now you understand. What you found isn't in the archive. It is the archive, and something inside it is beginning to wake. You wait until the building empties. The other archivists leave at 5 sharp, drifting out in whispered knots of Latin and espresso breath. By 5:30, only the low hum of dehumidifiers and the solemn click of cathedral bells remain. The halls of the Vatican Library become something else at night. Not sinister exactly, but ancient, heavy, like a throat clearing softly behind you in the dark. You walk down alone. Not to section B9 this time, not yet. You head to the old scriptorium 2 levels above, where no one copies by hand anymore. Only the ghosts of monks past, carved into the desks by long-dead fingernails. There, beneath the long-forgotten desk drawer, you find what you're looking for. A vial of ink, real ink, handmade, black as night, sealed with a cork so old it crumbles as you pull it free. You hold it next to the envelope, the one with the name Lucifer. Then you dip a clean cotton swab into the ancient ink and gently stroke the edge of the signature. The paper shivers. It shivers. A thin line blooms as if absorbing the contact, not bleeding, awakening. And as the line spreads, your flashlight flickers. For a moment, you could swear the ink wrote something back. You rush to the scanner. You run another test. No standard match, but this time the AI interface detects residue. Not ink, not dye, something else. You lean closer. Ash. Carbon traces, but no combustion, as if the letter were written in burnt matter, but had never actually been burned. The AI flags it with a strange identifier, soot compound similar to cremated biological tissue. Your breath slows. You look back at the signature, Lucifer, and now, just faintly, Beneath that name, another word begins to appear. You didn't see it before, but the ink or the ash or whatever ancient substance it is responded to you, to your touch, to your interest. The word is not in Latin, but you know what it says, because it says your name, Luca. You stumble back from the desk. What is this? Some prank? Some elaborate hoax? A neural misfire from too many nights reading forbidden texts? You want to laugh, but instead you cry, just a little, silently, and the tears sting your cheeks like salt. When you blink, the desk is covered in handwriting, but you didn't write it. It wasn't there before, yet here it is now. A single phrase repeated over and over in perfect ink curls. He who reads in darkness becomes what he reads. You grab the envelope and run, back down, deeper, to section B9. The door resists this time. Its magnetic lock buzzes angrily, like a warning, but you override it, a soft beep. The door slides open, and on the floor, just where you left it, the first letter glows faintly, a warm, reddish pulse, like breath, like a heartbeat. You kneel beside it, and suddenly you understand. These letters are not messages. They are mirrors. They show the truth, but only to those who already suspect it. You whisper aloud, what question would make him answer again? And something unseen answers back, not with words, with ash. The edges of the envelope crumbles in your hand, and the words begin to vanish, not burn, erase, as if the page is being devoured from the inside out. You scream, but no sound comes. You run to stop it, but your gloves melt at the fingertips. The letter folds into itself, and all that remains is the word again. You return to the surface just before dawn. The sky above St. Peter's Basilica is the color of old linen, and the pigeons, thousands of them, circle the dome like smoke given wings. You haven't slept. Your hands smell faintly of ash, and you can still feel the heat of the letter pulsing against your palm, though it's no longer there. Only the wax seal remains. You took it when the envelope dissolved, reflexively, like grabbing the rosary from your childhood bedroom when the thunder rolled too close. It's small, circular, the sigil of Innocentius Quartus stamped in deep relief. 2 crossed keys, a sword, and the open eye. But something's wrong. You've seen this emblem before, countless times. It adorns manuscripts, frescoes, even a tapestry in the Apostolic Palace. But on this seal, the eye is not open. It is weeping. A single line of raised wax trails downward from the iris, almost imperceptible, almost accidental, except it isn't. You rub your thumb across it, and for the first time, the seal responds. It warms. You take it to the heraldic chamber, where papal seals from every century are kept catalogued in refrigerated drawers, each with high-resolution scans, digital comparisons, and commentary from experts long dead. You place the seal under the analyzer. Cross-reference. Scan. Result. No match. The system tries again. Still nothing. You isolate the design. This exact version of the papal seal, the weeping eye, does not exist in any public record. Not in the Vatican Archives, not in the Liber Pontificalis, not in the handwritten inventories dating back to the 9th century. You stare at the screen, then at the seal, and then just beneath it, you notice something you hadn't before. Tiny, etched text, too small to read without magnification. You switch lenses, focus, and the words emerge, written in a language that has no name. Only the broken shall see. You sit back, heartbeat growing louder. You know what you need to do. You check out one of the archived volumes on Innocent IV. Not the digital copy, the original, hard-bound, with margins full of frantic handwritten notes by some long-gone Jesuit. You flip past the hagiographies and into the letters, the edicts, the trial transcripts. One page stops you cold. A letter, dictated by Innocent IV, but never officially recorded, never released, marked sub rosa, beneath the rose. The Latin is stiff, formal, but the message is unmistakable. The adversary answered. He knew my name before my baptism. He called me by the name I forgot. You read it again. He called me by the name I forgot. Your mouth goes dry. What name? Why would a pope, a man chosen by divine election, claim to have forgotten his own? You begin to shake, because something deep inside you recognizes this feeling. Not the words, but the hollowness they came from. You've felt it too, in the silence between the turning of archive pages, in the hum of the fluorescent lights just before they flicker, in the moments when you stare into the scanner and see your own reflection in the black glass, of forgetting, of something you never knew you had, and now something wants you to remember. You pocket the seal. Return to section B9. This time, it opens without protest. No buzz, no lock, just cold air and the faint scent of myrrh. And there, in the center of the corridor, where nothing was yesterday, stands a wooden pedestal. Atop it, a single scrap of parchment. No envelope, no signature, just one line, written in the same faded ink ash blend as before. Ask it aloud, and I will answer. You hesitate. The pedestal is perfectly clean. too clean. Not a trace of dust, not even in the corners where centuries of Vatican stillness should have gathered. As if it was just placed there, as if someone's still watching. You look around. The corridor is silent. The scanners above, long defunct. The archival lights flicker once, then again, and then stay steady. You breathe in and say it aloud. What question would make him answer again? Your voice doesn't echo. It simply disappears, swallowed by the stone, the parchment, the thing beneath it all. You wait, but nothing happens. Just a soft whisper in the back of your skull. Not a word, not a sound, a pressure, like a hand hovering just above your skin. You step back, and that's when the lights go out. They don't flicker, they fail, all at once. Every bulb in section B9 dies in unison. Your flashlight won't turn on. Your phone glows for a second, then dies too. Even your wristwatch ticks once, then stops. And in that absolute darkness, you see the book. It's resting on the floor where the pedestal used to be. But this one is different. Bound in black, no title, edges frayed and curling like dead leaves, and etched into the cover, barely visible in the dark, a name. Not yours, but not Latin either. It looks wrong, like a language from a dream you had as a child and forgot the moment you woke. You open it. Inside, handwritten notes, slanted, urgent, fragmented. A scholar's script, not a monk's. You recognize the name on the first page, Frater Emmanuel Cirillo. You've seen that name once before, on a flagged document in the internal database. A Jesuit researcher, active in the 1890s, disappeared. Official cause, mental collapse following archival overexposure. But this isn't madness. This is obsession. The first page reads, it watches through the parchment, not the ink, the space between the lines. He spoke to Innocent once. He'll speak again. But the second letter is already written. The next entry, dated a week later, I thought I asked the right question. The lights went out. I saw him in the silence. Not a man, not a beast, just eyes, like lamps beneath the sea. You flip forward. The handwriting degrades. The Latin mutates into a hybrid, half scriptural, half phonetic gibberish. Cirillo was trying to sound out a language, one he heard, not read. And then, near the end, I stopped sleeping. The letter appears in my dreams now, but it's different each night. Sometimes it's addressed to me. Sometimes it's in my hand. And then, scrawled violently across 2 entire pages, he does not write back. He writes through. You drop the book. A thud echoes through the corridor, impossibly loud for such a soft object. Something behind you moves. You spin. Nothing, just shelves.
but you feel it again. That pressure, that invisible proximity. You back away and step on something. A scrap of torn parchment. Not old, not aged. Fresh, still damp with ink. You lift it carefully. It reads, "You are closer now, but not you alone." Your breath catches. You glance at the last line in Cirillo's notebook. If someone finds this, leave. Don't read the second letter. Don't ask your name.
You don't leave. You should. Cirillo told you to. Every part of your body hums with that instinct, something deeper than thought, more primal than fear. But curiosity is a beast of its own, and it's already sunk its claws in. So you stay. And the moment you decide, the room changes. Not physically, but something shifts. The air thickens, like standing at the bottom of a well. Your hearing narrows. There's no breeze, no hum of machines, no outside world pressing against the walls. Just the shelves, the silence, and something below. You take the narrow staircase behind B9, a service route, unlit, unused. You've never descended it before. Most archivists don't even know it's there. Each step creaks, stone on metal, dust on memory. And then you hear it. A voice, but not a sound. A vibration in your teeth, in the marrow of your bones. Not spoken, not shouted, just placed in you. One word, archivist. You freeze, because it doesn't sound threatening, not angry, not even curious. It sounds expectant. You reach the bottom of the staircase and find a chamber you've never seen. Unlit, larger than it should be, impossibly large, like the Vatican built a cathedral under another cathedral and sealed it off from time. No shelves, no labels, just chairs, dozens of them, all facing the same direction, all occupied. Skeletons, rotted robes, desiccated hands still clutching scrolls, crosses, Bibles, letters. Each one seated upright, each one facing forward, each one silent. At the far end of the chamber, a small altar, and upon it, a third envelope. You walk past the dead slowly, carefully. No names, no markers, no signs that these men ever existed outside this room. But their bones are turned towards something. Their skulls, each tilted slightly, eyes long decayed, but sockets still fixed, toward you. You reach the altar. The envelope isn't sealed. It's open, as if it's been waiting. Inside, one page, thicker than the last two. Not parchment, not paper, something else, almost like skin.
and it's blank, except at the bottom corner, where, in the smallest hand, it reads, "The fourth letter is not written in ink." You touch it, and your vision darkens, not black, not absence, but a descent. The air seems to fall around you, as if gravity bends inward toward the page, pulling your thoughts through the inkless lines. You hear the voice again, closer now, warmer, almost gentle. You are the first in 3 generations to ask. You will not be the last. You stumble backward. The lights return, only they're not electric. The chamber is now lit by candlelight. Thousands of tiny flames lining the walls, flickering over the bones of the seated dead. And now they face you, all of them, not just tilted, turned. The entire rows of skeletons have shifted to look directly at you. You run, back up the stairwell, back to B9, past the shelves, through the locked door that no longer locks. You burst into the daylight hallway. Archivists glance your way, startled, but you don't stop. You hide the letter. You walk out calmly. You return to your room, and you sit, staring at your hands, waiting, because you now know what Cirillo meant when he wrote. He does not write back. He writes through. And he started with you. You fall asleep with your clothes still on, shoes muddy from the hidden stairwell, sweat drying on your collar, hands trembling just enough to make your pen roll off the desk. You don't even notice. You're out before your head touches the pillow. But this is not sleep. It's invitation. The dream begins with silence, thick and deliberate. Not emptiness, but pause, like the air is waiting for someone to speak. Then parchment, everywhere. You're standing in a void made entirely of pages, millions of them fluttering like wings, stacked like bricks, rising into a skyless ceiling. Each sheet is covered in writing, none in a language you know, but you understand them anyway, not line by line, but as sensation. Some are cold, some ache, some feel like laughter that isn't funny, others like the moment between two people deciding not to say what they really mean. You walk forward, though you're not sure what forward means here. The ground beneath you ripples like silk, and the pages whisper. Archivist, curator, conduit, Ashbourne. Then you see the library. Not the one above. This one is older. Bones for shelves, spines for bindings, rows that twist like entrails, with staircases that loop back into themselves. At the center, a desk, and behind it, a man, or
what used to be one. He wears the robes of a cardinal, scarlet and heavy, but his face is blank, smooth, no features, no eyes, only the faint shape of a mouth. It moves, and though no sound comes, you hear it anyway. You are not the first to ask, but you are the first to listen. You try to speak, but nothing comes out. Your voice is gone. Your thoughts are fog. The desk begins to slide forward on its own. No wheels, no push, just a slow, silent glide through the air between you. On its surface, a letter, charred, melted at the corners, still smoking, as if it had just been pulled from fire. You reach out, but the figure behind the desk lifts one finger. Wait. Then it tilts its head, and finally it speaks. The sound is wrong, like something scraping across stone in a cathedral's crypt. It says, "Don't wake up yet." Your eyes snap open. You're sitting upright in bed, heart pounding, room still dark. But something is different. There's something in your lap. You look down. A letter. Real, tangible, singed at the corners. And on it, in familiar ash-black ink, "Now we begin." You don't move for several minutes. When you finally do, it's only to check the time. Your bedside clock is blank. You check your phone. 3:33. Of course. You laugh once. Just a breath of disbelief. It doesn't sound like your laugh. And now, you realize something else. Your room is warm, but not in a comforting way. It's warm like the inside of a furnace, warm like the breath of something ancient, exhaling quietly just behind your ear. And on your desk, where you left nothing, a new page waits, blank, except for 2 words at the top: "Right back." You stare at the page for what feels like an hour. Right back. No address, no prompt, no instruction. Just those 2 words written in the same ash-black ink, as if this time he's waiting. You sit at your desk, your fingers hovering above the pen. What would you even say? What are you? What do you want? Why me? All of it sounds weak, childish, and somewhere you feel he would laugh, but not out loud. Not the kind of laughter people can hear. The kind that slides into the seams of your brain and stays there, waiting. You finally write one line: "Who is writing through me?" And the moment your pen lifts, the letters rearrange. They do not smear, they don't blur, they simply shift, as if the paper were alive and correcting you. Your words vanish, and in their place, You are. You drop the pen, because now the truth starts to itch. You haven't eaten in days. You haven't logged in to the archive database. You haven't spoken to another human being since... when? You check your phone. There are no messages, no missed calls, no app notifications, as if the device had been reset. And the calendar? Blank. No date. Only the clock. 3:33 a.m. Still. You leave your room. Walk the dark Vatican hallway barefoot, like a ghost who forgot it died. No one stops you. No one sees you. Or maybe they do, and choose not to interfere, because your eyes now reflect something they fear. You return to section B9, and once again, it has changed. The shelves are gone. Instead, mirrors. Tall, arched, rimmed in gold leaf, each carved with Latin prayers so worn with age they're unreadable. Each mirror reflects you, but not exactly you. In one, you're dressed in monastic robes. In another, your hair is white. In a third, you hold a smoking quill. And in the last, you are not there at all. Just a chair, still warm, empty. You walk toward that one, and behind it, leaning against the wall, is the fifth letter. No envelope this time, just a single torn page curled at the edges. On it, the devil is not a name, it is a title. The first archivist took it willingly. You breathe slowly, then again, as if you're learning how. What does that mean? Was there someone before Innocent the Fourth? Before Lucifer? Before any of them? Someone who didn't just read the letters, but wrote them. You look around. The mirrors begin to fog, as if the air inside them were growing cold, and in the one with the empty chair, a shadow begins to form, not moving, not advancing, just watching. You whisper aloud, "Is it you?" And the answer doesn't come as a voice. It comes as a memory, not yours. You see, a monk writing in a cave, a hand signing a name no human language can hold, a pope crying as he lights a scroll on fire, a boy, barely 12, digging up a letter buried in a graveyard beneath a church that no longer stands. A mirror, a mirror, a mirror. You blink, and now, in your own reflection, you are holding a quill, writing, smiling, the same smile as the faceless man in the dream. You've stopped asking questions, not because you're afraid of the answers, but because the questions themselves are now useless. Every attempt to understand only deepens the spiral. Like a whisper you chase through fog, each step forward leads you further from the place you began. And yet, Something compels you. Not hunger, not sleep, not logic. Obligation. Like this was always your path. Like the letters had been waiting for you. You return to the restricted catalog room, deeper than B9. A place even cardinals need written approval to access. But the door opens before you can even lift your hand. As if the archive itself recognizes you now, welcomes you. Inside, the walls are different. The books aren't alphabetized. They're arranged by impact. You don't know how you know that, but you do. The higher up, the less dangerous. The deeper you go, the more volatile. Your hand drifts to a black binder with no title. You open it. Inside, printed in Vatican red, Index Damnatorum Librorum, the index of the damned. Not the usual Index Librorum Prohibitorum. This one isn't about heresy or blasphemy. It's about contact. You flip to the second page. These works are not forbidden because of content. They are forbidden because they answer. And beneath that, a list. Dozens of titles, many in Latin, some in Hebrew, Greek, Syriac, a few in languages you don't recognize, combinations of letters that shouldn't exist together. But one entry stands out, the only one not blacked out or footnoted. Codex Saligia. Date of origin unknown. Language variable. Location misplaced. Misplaced. That word feels wrong. You don't misplace reality warping documents. You don't misplace books that whisper back. Unless they're not books anymore. You scan the registry. One more note appears. Retrieved once, 1639. Reburied beneath St. Priscilla's crypt. Archive refused custody. Reburial witnessed by 3 popes. Final entry redacted by order of the devil's secretary. You blink. The title isn't metaphor. The devil has a secretary. And suddenly, the mirror from the dream flashes into memory. The faceless man, the robes, the quill. You whisper, who was he? And something in the binder changes. The ink shifts. One last entry appears at the bottom of the page. Position vacant. Your stomach turns. The 5th letter said, "The devil is not a name. It is a title." And now you see it for what it is. This is not a correspondence, not a warning, not even a haunting. It's a recruitment. You are not uncovering history. You're applying for it. And you're already being watched. Back in your quarters, you find a fresh envelope addressed to you. Inside, a contract, written in red ink that smells like copper. No name, no terms, just a line at the bottom. Do not sign unless you intend to finish what you started. And in the corner of your desk, where no light reaches, the seal waits, still weeping, still warm.
You don't sign the contract. Not yet. You place it gently in the drawer. But the seal, it doesn't let you forget. You can feel it from across the room. Its heat, faint but present, like a candle burning in the walls of your skull. You try to distract yourself. You wash your face, brush your teeth, change your clothes, but everything smells faintly of ashes. The moment you sit back down, the envelope is on the desk again. Unmoved, unopened, waiting. You return to the archives. This time not to read, to ask. You descend the spiral stairs below B9 again, this time with intent. No flashlight, no map, just a question. You say it aloud as you reach the bottom. Who was the last one before me? No echo, just silence. Then, slowly, a wall opens. You didn't touch it, you didn't hear it, but it opens just the same. Inside, a single chair, a desk, and on it, a nameplate. Faded brass cracked across the middle. It reads, Secretarius Diaboli, Secretary of the Devil. You sit, and for a moment you feel nothing. Then a whisper, not sound, memory. Images fill your head like smoke. A monk in chains, smiling as he's dragged into a pyre. A girl no older than 8, sketching letters that rearrange themselves behind her. A man in World War I uniform, reading a page and laughing until he stops breathing. A woman in 1983, writing her doctoral thesis in a dead language no one taught her. A Vatican clerk disappearing behind a locked archive door in 2006, never found. Each one different, each one chosen. None lasted. You are not the first, but they all heard the same offer. And now, so have you. On the desk before you, a thin journal. You open it. Inside, names. All crossed out. All with one note beside them. Failed to finish the letter. And suddenly, you understand what the seal is for. It's not just a sign of authority. It's a key. A way to complete what they never could. You feel it in your hand now, though you didn't bring it with you. It's always with you. That's the trick. You carry it now because it chose you. You flip to the back of the journal. One final entry. No name, no date, just a phrase. The secretary does not serve the devil. he remembers him. And beneath that, memory is the oldest form of worship. You look up. The room has changed again, not visibly, but spiritually. The air has weight, your body light. You feel yourself dissolving like ink in warm water, not dying, becoming. You return to your room that night. The contract is gone, but in its place, a letter you didn't write, addressed to someone else, someone who doesn't yet exist. On the envelope, to the next.
You've stopped checking the time. Clocks no longer matter. They spin or pause at will, especially at 3:33 a.m., which arrives several times a day, depending on the hallway. You've also stopped eating, but you're not hungry. The body seems to obey different rules now, as if proximity to the letters, to whatever writes them, reshapes the limits of the flesh. You speak less, you write more, and somewhere inside you, something watches from behind your own eyes, calmly, patiently, approving. You spend your days searching, not for more letters, they find you on their own, but for the one room every archivist has heard of, the one that doesn't appear on any official blueprint. Camera tenebris, the room of shadows. According to whispers, some believe it predates the Vatican itself, built by non-cardinals, accessed only through misremembering the proper path, which means you must get lost on purpose. So you do. You walk the wrong way, down the wrong halls, through doors that haven't been opened since the Papal States fell. And at every dead end, you turn right when your instinct says left. You descend when the signs say exit. And finally, you arrive. You know it not by sight, but by silence. The kind of silence that feels watched. The doorway is unmarked, but the moment you step through, the lights go out behind you. The temperature drops, and your vision begins to blur, not from darkness, but from history. The room resists modern eyes. It peels away logic, peels away training, peels away you. The space is circular, massive, no visible ceiling. The walls pulse faintly with script, alive and moving like ink in water. But there are no shelves, just one massive stone slab in the center, and on it, a letter, still being written. The pen floats inches above the page, moving slowly, deliberately, writing in a language older than paper, older than speech, a language of meaning, not words. You step closer, and as you do, the floating pen stops, mid-stroke, as if it feels you. And in your skull,
The pressure builds again, deeper now, not pain, but permission. You reach out, touch the edge of the slab, and suddenly the letter finishes itself. It writes your name, not the one you were born with, the one you haven't yet earned. And beneath it, a single sentence. He remembers your handwriting. You stagger back, because now you remember writing this. Not last night, not last year, a lifetime ago, when you weren't you. You close your eyes and see a library made of flame, ashes falling like snow, 7 candles in a circle, each flickering against time, a single voice speaking not in sound, but in understanding. You open your eyes. The room is gone. You're standing back in the corridor, empty-handed, but in your pocket, the letter, folded, sealed, addressed not to you, but to him.
You hold the letter for days. You don't open it, not yet, because it's not for you, and because the seal on the envelope is not wax, it's flesh, pale, veined, warm to the touch, pulsing slightly, like it's alive, like it's waiting to be acknowledged. It bears a symbol, a black eye weeping ink. You've seen it before, in dreams, in footnotes, in the hidden corners of letters written centuries apart. Always the same eye, always watching. You take the letter to the north wing of the archives, past the papal crypt records, past the exorcism logs, past the shelves labeled simply unverified. You descend an old lift, the kind no one uses anymore. It groans like a thing trying to forget it was built for descent. At the bottom, a rusted metal door, unmarked, but carved into the wall beside it, barely visible under centuries of grime, the same eye. You press your palm to it. The door opens. Inside is a chamber of names, hundreds, maybe thousands, written on parchment, on bone, on cloth, on what looks like bark, all pinned to the walls, some scratched in blood, others faded to illegibility. No titles, no explanations, just names. But one space is empty, at the center of the far wall, marked only by a burned outline, like a name was once there, but torn out. You know instantly, that's who the letter is for. The one whose name was removed, the one the Vatican forgot, the one he made them forget. You step forward and place the envelope on the burned mark. Nothing happens at first. Then a voice behind you, low, measured, dusty with age. You shouldn't have come here. You turn. No one's there. Just a shadow. Not cast by anything. Not shaped like anyone. A shadow that moves independently, dripping like oil along the stone floor. It stops before the letter, and you hear it speak, not in your ears, but in the marrow of your bones. He gave up his name to protect the door. You reopened it. You try to speak. Your voice doesn't work. Your hands tremble. The shadow rises up the wall, coiling around the burned space, like smoke trying to remember how to be a man. And then it whispers one final phrase. He left the name with you. You look down at your chest. Your skin is glowing faintly, words appearing, slow and red, written beneath the skin like ink in a candle. A name, not yours, but not unfamiliar. You fall to your knees. Memories flood back, not yours, but his. You see a secret meeting beneath St. John Lateran in 1492, a ritual spoken only once ever, a man willingly erased from time so the door would stay closed, a letter written, never sent, a seal forged in blood, and a phrase repeated again and again. We forget to protect. We protect to forget. You understand now. You were not chosen randomly. You were prepared. The envelope vanishes. The burned space glows, and slowly a name writes itself back into the wall, not in ink, but in fire. And when it's finished, the room begins to collapse, not physically, historically. Dates reverse, dust flows upward. Your body shakes as if your timeline is unraveling. And then, silence. You wake up in your bed. The name carved into your memory like scripture. Gregorius V. Scriptor Umbrarum. Gregory V, Scribe of Shadows. He was the first, and now you are the last.
You no longer wonder where the letters come from. You wonder why they let you see them. Because this next one, you didn't find it. It found you. You wake up to it, already open, resting on your chest like it had grown there overnight. No envelope, no seal. The paper is old, ridiculously old, not yellowed, but blackened as if it had survived a fire that never stopped burning. And the ink, it moves, not metaphorically. The writing shifts, wriggles, crawls, as if the words themselves are alive and trying to forget what they said. You blink, and the page rearranges itself. Now the words are readable, but they're not addressed to you. They're addressed to the one who opens the last door. You feel your pulse stutter, because you are the one holding it. The letter begins with an apology, a slow, formal, disturbingly polite one. Forgive the trespass. I write not to disturb, but to remind. You keep reading. There was a time before names, before angels or devils, when memory itself was a sin. That line hits like a stone, because you felt that truth before, in the chamber of names, in the mirror room, in your bones. You keep reading. The first archivist did not record history. He bound it in letters, in ink, in pain. The handwriting changes, grows more erratic, slants upward as if the writer were panicking. But someone read them, spoke them aloud, and history answered. The next paragraph is crossed out violently, as if the paper itself rejected it. But beneath the scorched lines, you can still make out one sentence. The Vatican has hidden the truth in mirrors. Suddenly, your room is too quiet, not peaceful, wrong. Like the sound has been sucked out, like the world is holding its breath. And then you see it. In the corner, your mirror. Not the same as before. The reflection is delayed. You raise your hand. Your image follows half a second too late. You walk to it slowly. Look deeper, and you see yourself. Yes, but also something behind you. Not in the room, in the reflection. A figure. Not moving, not threatening, just present. You turn, nothing there. Turn back, still there. Watching, reading. You blink, and now it holds the letter. You step closer. The figure lifts its face. It is you, but older. Eyes ink black, fingertips stained, mouth sewn shut with gold thread. And it nods once, then mouths two words, one more. You stagger back, the mirror ripples. Your reflection is normal again, empty, but on your desk, a new envelope, wider, heavier, unlabeled. You pick it up. Inside, a map, a name, a key with no teeth, and a single sheet of thick black paper, with one phrase written in crimson ink. Return what was remembered.
The key in your hand is smooth. No ridges, no grooves, just cold metal shaped into a symbol of trust. Or
a test. You place it in your coat pocket. It hums slightly against your body, like it knows where it belongs. Alongside the map, old parchment, brittle, stained. It outlines no country, no names of cities, only symbols. You recognize one in the center, the eye, weeping. You trace your finger from the outer ring inward, through a spiral of Latin inscriptions, each quoting popes who never officially existed. And in the middle, one word, not in Latin, not in Greek, just a name. Yours. You descend through the Vatican's substructures, lower than you thought possible, past the catacombs, past the crypts, past the buried church where they found the first sealed scroll. You move in silence. Even your breath stays inside your body, like it too is waiting. Finally, at the end of a passage lined with statues that don't blink but want to, you reach a door. Black wood, no handle, just a round empty slot. You place the key inside. No turn, no click. The door simply opens. Inside, the hall of the last archivist. Long, narrow, stone walls bleeding with history. You pass displays, letters suspended in glass, not labeled, not translated. Some are soaked in wax, others in something that might have once been blood. One is still moving, as if being written in real time by nothing visible. You approach the far end. A pedestal rises from the stone, and upon it, a book, bound in ash-gray hide, unmarked. You open it. Inside, one page, yours, already there, already written. This is the final archive, the memory of memory. When this is read, the door will close behind me, and the eye will rest. You don't remember writing it, but your hand begins to ache in the exact muscles required to do so, like a phantom echo of an act you've yet to commit. On the wall beside the pedestal, a small mirrored panel. You stare into it and see not yourself, but every archivist before you. They flicker, fade, reappear. Men, women, children, saints, heretics, madmen, all reading, all writing, all watching. And finally, your own face returns. Not older, not changed, just recognized.
You are now among them, the final steward, the final witness. Behind you, the room begins to seal. Stone grinds against stone. You don't panic. You don't plead. Because this was never a story about escape. It's a story about remembrance. And someone has to remember the devil. Not to summon him, but to bind him. You take a pen. The final page waits. You begin to write the last letter to the one who will come after.
To the one who listens. You write slowly, not out of hesitation, but reverence. Each letter feels like the closing of a vault. Each word is a brick laid across a doorway never meant to open again. This is not just ink. It is binding. If you are reading this, I failed. That's how you begin. Because the truth has always demanded honesty. You continue. I was not the first. I will not be the last. But I was supposed to be the one who finished it. I opened too many doors. I read too deeply. I remembered too much. And now the eye watches through me. You pause. Your hand trembles, not from fear, but from recognition. This letter, this very one, you've read it before. In a mirror, in a dream, in the folds of an envelope that should have never existed. They tell you not to look into the darkness. They never tell you the darkness looks back. And worse, sometimes it speaks. Sometimes it writes. But the most dangerous thing it ever did was listen. Your candle burns low. You don't remember lighting it, and yet it's always been there. The same way you have always been here, in this room, in this chair, at this desk, in the final station of memory. You continue. I have met the devil. He was not horned. He was not fire. He was me. One choice further down the line. He was an archivist who mistook remembrance for worship. He remembered everything, and he became it. The ink bleeds across the final lines, almost as if the letter itself weeps for what's been written. You reach the last words, not yours, but his, carved into the back of the page in dried blood long before you sat here. To the one who listens, you are not safe, but you are sacred. Guard the memory, even if it destroys you, especially if it does. The book closes on its own. You lean back in the chair. A sound echoes softly behind the walls.
Footsteps, slow, measured, approaching. The next one is coming. You smile, not in joy, but in understanding, because now you know the devil never needed a throne. He needed a desk. And as the light fades, you whisper one last thing. Your turn.